What media are you talking about that's anti-Trump?
You're not familiar with the anti-Trump media?
You're not familiar with the fact that you guys control for everything
of all
from
the things I've heard you say out here, that might be the nuttiest.
Scott,
believe me, there's plenty of anti-Trump media.
Scott,
you believe it
No, I
should
think
be
that
easier
media
to
has
sue
to do
media
their
companies?
job. They have to actually, they need to get the facts
But wait a
right.
second.
Because
Wait.
we were right, and that's always wrong.
That's Republican and CNN black sheep Scott Jennings cracking up at the newest narrative coming from establishment media. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and pretend journalists everywhere are losing their minds at the $15 million settlement in Trump's lawsuit against George Stephanopoulos and ABC News. And instead of facing the music or admitting that they might even be slightly culpable in perpetuating misinformation, they've decided to double down and concoct a host of outlandish and straw man scenarios to excuse themselves of any wrongdoing.
Scott, how many campaigns have you done? I've done 100 million, and probably you have too, right? Every time you get a bad poll, are you supposed to sue the pollster now?
It's not about the poll. It's not about the poll. But look what happened. It came out from a person who has a lot of credibility. Virtually every single panel I was on for the last week of the campaign led with, well, look at this poll out of Iowa. It's the, and so it wasn't the poll. It's the second, third, and fourth order narrative.
Listen. The number. I'm sorry.
And it's just
speech. So what? So what?
It's free speech.
What about Scott? I mean, what about free speech? I mean, I thought that this was the Republican Party of say what you want. Let's debate it in the public square. Like, let's have the conversation. Now it's let's only have the conversation if you're 100%. Prescient and correct in that moment. It was a bad poll. It was a wrong poll. The media discussed it. So what?
Do you know what I'm so tired of, Scott? The number one cable news network, Fox News. The number one paper by circulation, the Wall Street Journal. Number three paper by circulation, the New York Post. Number one person on the radio, Sean Hannity. The number one person on the podcast, Joe Rogan. All of these people are Trump supporters. What I'm basically trying to say is that you guys have taken over the airwaves. You guys have taken over the radio airwaves. You guys have taken over podcasts. You guys have taken over pretty much, and now you're sitting here complaining because all you guys do is whine and complain. Your entire raison d'etre is to have grievances. You don't actually think about leading. You just think about having grievances against the media. You guys have taken over podcasts. You guys have taken over pretty much, and now you're sitting here complaining because all you guys do is whine and complain. Your entire raison d'etre is to have grievances. You don't actually think about leading. You just think about having grievances against the media.
You know, liberals love to play the semantics game so that they can maintain this illusion that they're still living in a Reagan or Bush era America where they're considered counterculture. But the fact of the matter is Fox News is number one because it's an island in a sea of liberal garbage. It's legitimately the only place to go if you're conservative and still get your news from legacy media. And Wall Street Journal is only considered conservative by liberals because they're so used to being spoon-fed narratives they agree with. Sean Hannity's radio show isn't important because barely anyone listens to the radio anymore. And Joe Rogan only became pro-Trump 5 seconds ago because liberals couldn't stand that he was capable of independent thought. What Jennings and conservatives are talking about is institutional control, which is abundantly apparent when you consider that only 3.4% of journalists are registered Republicans.
The poll was wrong. Many of the polls are wrong. They've been wrong for many cycles. But it's not like this is the only thing that has been said in the news from either side that is not true.
I hate to say it, but Scott is actually right about this one. I hate to say it because Scott and I very rarely agree on anything. He's right. He's right. He's right about this in the fact that sloppy journalism, sloppy polling, and what they did. Look, I was the recipient of more than 100 lies. And I understand what Trump is doing in terms of changing the way defamation cases are brought in this country. You may remember the allegations I was in Prague. Never been to Prague. I was in Czechoslovakia. I paid $10 million to Kompromat. I have a house next to Putin in Sochi. None of this is true. On top of that, there was another one that came out as an example where I allegedly was paid $400,000 by Poroshenko to create a meeting between him and Donald Trump during the presidency. That is also not true.
So do you think it should be easier? You believe it should be easier?
No, I think that media has to do their job. They have to actually, they need to get the facts right.
But wait a second.
We were right. And that's always wrong.
You know things are bad when Michael Cohen admits that Trump was right about legacy media. I mean, he said this right after Abby Phillip read a statement from Trump's team basically calling him a loser, which just goes to show you how CNN was dishonestly attempting attempting to prime him for a desired response that they obviously didn't get, because even someone like Cohen can't fully deny that they're all hacks.
Are you worried at all about this, Scott, just where it could go? Not just the Donald Trump of it all, but I mean, if he's creating precedent, it's for everybody.
Well, when you introduced, Michael, you used the word narratives, and I think one of the reasons Republicans are cheering on this muscular attitude from Trump and pushing back against some of this is because Republicans feel like constantly media organizations, especially in the throes of campaigns, work overtime to create false narratives that may shape the contours of the election. Look what happened. When this poll came out in Iowa, the entire English-speaking world was talking about the gold standard pollster, and Harris has this momentum, and ultimately what we were told was complete garbage. And if you talked to pollsters at the time, they would have told you, this is not real, this methodology is not good anymore. But that's not what people chose to run with because it fit what most people in the press wanted the narrative to be. So he's pushing back on that. I don't frankly have a problem with it, and if they capitulate, it's because they don't want to go through the discovery and what that might show.
You're a practitioner, Scott. I mean, it's a bad poll. A bad poll is a bad poll.
It's worse than a bad poll.
The Trump campaign.
It looks like establishment media is making the same mistake as their Democrat masters by avoiding responsibility and learning absolutely nothing from Trump's election win. These political hacks know exactly how they frame the polling and every other story that comes across their desks to peddle a narrative. They're acting like being forced to provide context or add caveats to polling or news stories is somehow an infringement on their rights as supposedly objective journalists. Meanwhile, these are the same people who were saying that social media needs regulations because users were posting videos of Biden being Biden that networks were calling cheap fakes weeks before he dropped out of the race. But let me know what you think. How many more of these litigations do you think we'll see before hacks in the media get the message? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye.